No one could have seen it coming. This stalking shadow. The mist that envelops it. An evil force that consumes its prey. It's already too late. Even those who struggle in a desperate effort to survive are beaten and pinned down by its overwhelming force. Not until the end, when all is over, will it reveal its ghastly form.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, Douglas the Gets, it's your man, Stack 908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Monster Hunters and Monster Hunties. Today we are going to take a look at the Gore Magala. Gore Magala is the flagship monster of Monster Hunter 4. Yes, just 4, not 4U. Oh man, was this monster so cool. Anyway, we haven't seen this monster, I wouldn't say in a long time. This is his first time being put in the 5th generation. The last one I saw was in Monster Hunter Generations. But man, this monster was cool. This monster was back when Monster Hunter was first trying to actually sell us a story mode. Because before then it was just, I mean, sure, I guess it was a bit of a story, but the story for the Gore Magala was insane. It was very, very, very good. I loved it. It's actually what started, like, true story in Monster Hunter. But nevertheless, let's talk about what Gore Magala is about. So, in a nutshell, Gore Magala is a juvenile elder dragon. Okay, it's a little different. Its classification has been up for debate for a lot of people. People say that it's an elder dragon proper. The problem with that is, I believe in most games, if not all games, you're actually allowed to capture it, where you're unable to capture elder dragons. Granted, its physiology leans it to be that of an elder dragon. It's a whole big thing. I'm not gonna discuss it. It's not my. I'm not here for that. I'm just going to teach you guys how to fight this thing. So note this. It is basically a wyvern, a flying wyvern. For the most part, it'll be the first quote-unquote, I guess you could say, elder dragon skeleton you'll be able to fight. So a lot of its moves are a little bit different from that of the standard flying wyverns, which only have 2 legs. This guy has 4 legs and 2 wings, free of the, weirdness that is only having 2 legs and then a set of wings. So he can do a lot of things. First and foremost, I will say, if you ever fought him before in the 4th generation, be it 4U or in generation itself, a lot has not actually changed for my man. I'm going to keep it a $150 for you guys. I remember every single attack that he's doing here. All these attacks are old school attacks. I think the only 2 attacks that he has is new. Is this one attack where he'll shoot a singular ball that actually has huge explosive potential, and this big hip check thing. That's about it. Every single attack he has is older attacks, but a couple of them have changed properties. So let's talk about the more notable ones, of course. When you go to fight, actually, let's back it up a little bit. We're getting ahead of ourselves. He is weak to that of fire and dragon element. At this point in time, I'm certain you may have some fire. Espinos has fire and poison. Unfortunately, I'm using the poison because I kind of wanted another gun lance. I've been enjoying myself with gun lance. But nevertheless, you're going to want to bring either fire or dragon. Dragon is kind of in short supply up to this particular point in time. If you have like a particular weapon who doesn't necessarily need you to fight a monster who has the dragon element, you can kind of use that. For lance, there's the growling wyvern lance. The growling wyvern lance. Yeah. Anyway, it has a lot of dragon element. It doesn't really require me to actually fight any true dragons at all. Some Basrios parts, if anything, but nevertheless, fire is actually plentiful up to this point. So bring yourself some fire, and you should be in relatively decent hands. Hit him in the head. Now, here's the thing. Speaking of hitting him in the head, this is the thing that makes Gore Magala pretty interesting. Gore Magala cannot actually see. I don't even think it even has eyes. It senses you with the little antenna feeler things on top of his head. Now, there's a particular item, I think it's actually called the sensor, that you get off of the Gore Magala. I think the Gore Magala might be shaggy. Either way, you have to wait for it to go into its enraged mode. Now, it has an enraged mode where it makes the screen all kind of dark, like you're looking through like tinted windows or whatever, and its horns on its head will actually stick up. You need to break those horns in that state. You can break his actual head, then you have to break the horns. Like, you can break his actual head when he's not pissed off. You have to break the horns when he's pissed off to get that actual horn break. It's a little odd, it's a little wacky, it's a little nutso, but just know that that's actually a thing. So do your best to actually break those when you can. It's very important you do so if you're trying to make the armor and some of the some of this weapons. So now let's talk about its attacks. So I talked about how it has a attack where it shoots a singular ball far out at you and then explodes on the ground. That's new. Another thing that it kind of has that isn't necessarily new, but it's nice to look out for is whenever it does its double wing hand slam. That's what I'm going to call it. The camera pans out a bit. This attack does amazing amounts of damage. It does incredible amounts of chip. So if you have a counter, time it right and you'll be good to go. If you don't have a counter and you're going to block it, don't block repeated attacks from this. It hurts a lot, even if you are blocking, even with guard 5. I'll also note to you that you do not want to take too many hits from its blast. Like it shoots, they're not fireballs, but it's little blast ball things. More notably when he's pissed off, he'll kind of charge one up and then he'll shoot it directly in front of him. It's one explosion, then it pans out to like 3 other explosions. I think I'm getting this mixed up. I think he has it where he'll shoot one at the ground and they explode horizontally. Then he has another one where he'll shoot at the ground and it'll explode vertically, meaning as opposed to going left to right, it goes back and forth. Or instead of left to right, it just goes forward, if you will. So watch out for it. It's pretty slappy. It does a lot of damage as well. If you're caught in the wrong particular angle when you're blocking it, you're going to block all 3, and that's not good. You're going to lose a lot of HP because the chip on it is pretty insane. So long story short, Gore Magala in this game fights very akin to how I used to fight back in the day. If you fought him before, congratulations, you kind of still know how to fight the guy. A lot of the same things are still there. It does have the hip check, and it does have the single ball that I think Shaggy had at one point, or maybe it was Chaos. I can't remember exactly, but there you go. Bring fire or dragon. Remember, if you want to break its sensors, I believe it's called, you have to break him when he's enraged. That's his head when he's enraged, and he has the horns out. You have to break it then, because if you don't break it then, you won't be able to break it. Even if you break its actual head, it's not the same thing. But nevertheless, let's talk about the gear, because the gear is pretty phenomenal. As always, flagship monsters always have great gear. Okay, so Gore Magala's gear is pretty good. Let's actually talk about it briefly. Now, agitated, we don't have to talk too much about. We already know what that is. Monster gets pissed off, you get plus 20 to attack and plus 15 to affinity. It's a great skill. It's a great means of getting a lot of easy damage and a lot of free affinity and whatnot. I love it. Constitution, things like rolling and blocking and like things that use fixed stamina, like running and so on. Not running. I think like charging your hammer, whatever. That it gets reduced. So that's pretty cool. It's a great skill to have, especially for people who use a lot of stamina. Coalescence, that's the breadwinner. So coalescence, let's talk about coalescence. Coalescence is a skill that came in with Iceborne, I believe. Essentially what it boils down to is whenever you recover from an abnormal or blight, you get an attack and an elemental bonus. Now it's not as grandeur of that of like agitator, but I mean it's more free stuff. At rank 3 gives you plus 18 to attack, 4 to your elemental attack power, and then your status buildup is increased by 15%. Pretty solid skill, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's definitely one of the skills you want to put on something else that's actually more efficient. This set isn't too bad, but I'd recommend putting it on something with a little bit more slap. Now, outside of that, speed eating, you know what that is, moving on. Its weapons, they're pretty good. As far as dragon goes, it doesn't give you the most element. That's his big brother. We'll talk about him later when we get to him. But you get very solid raw. 300 or so is the average, with about 20 or so element, with about 15 affinity, 15 to 20 affinity. So I mean, you get decent element, get decent raw. It's just great stuff. I mean, they're very useful to have, especially if you want to use a really good dragon weapon early on. It's going to be really fun to use. Also, I must implore you, beg of you, if you will, to keep one if you're going to make Shigeru Magala gear, because this gear, in my opinion, is a little bit better. It has I'm getting ahead of myself. Moving on. Okay, Gore Magala, let's talk about him real quickly. Briefly, let's wrap it up. Now, it is an amazing beast. It is, if anything, like I said, a juvenile elder dragon. So it has a couple of things going for it that regular wyverns themselves do not have. Cool thing about it is that it has the ability to use its hands, its wings as hands, so that way it can actually hit you with a couple of different attacks that you normally wouldn't expect. It has a bunch of attacks that actually hit very hard, so the damage this thing can actually do is pretty insane. Definitely one of those 2-hit and then you're done kind of monsters. You could probably only survive maybe 1 solid hit. A lot of attacks probably won't kill you outright, but a lot of them, most of them, if not all of them will have you sitting very much on lean after a while. Don't get too cocky with this monster because he'll finish you up real quick. Like, if you have a thing like a counter or a means to mitigate damage without taking chip, that's going to be the wave. I highly recommend you do that, because a lot of the times when you're blocking some of these attacks, you're going to take a huge amount of chip, and it's not like you're better off getting hit, but man, it's about half the damage you would take if you were to actually get hit. So just note that the damage it can do is pretty insane. It has a bunch of different ways to actually attack you, be it its breaths, be it the frenzy. We never talked about the frenzy. So the frenzy very briefly works like this. He'll hit you with an attack, or he'll shoot these balls down on the ground, and like these pools of like misty stuff is going to be all around the area. Now when it's on your body, you'll see it on your body, and it'll be like all like smoke on your body. This is frenzy. Now frenzy has two different states. One, when you beat the frenzy, much like beating a cold. Two, when you lose against the frenzy, like when you get like really stuck in on the cold. Now how it works is you can beat the frenzy by doing damage to Gore Magala itself. If you do sufficient enough damage, you actually beat it, and you get an affinity increase. How much? I can't remember. I think it's like 20 or so percent affinity. It's a limited time kind of affair. But if you're doing good damage to the monster anyway, you're probably going to get it every single time you do get frenzied. However, if you lose the frenzy battle, meaning you don't do enough damage to him in a given amount of time, you lose the ability to heal your red health. So like, let's say whenever a monster hits you, you have that red health sitting there, and that's recoverable. If you do nothing for a while, you don't take no damage, it comes back. Or you can take certain particular items that can restore the health all the way back up to full, or back up to where it was before, and then you can heal from there. You don't have the ability to do that. If the monster hits you, you take flat damage. Now, it isn't the end of the world, but it's a bit of an annoyance, because a lot of times I found myself in a situation where I can recover red health, especially using abilities like recovery speed that restores red health very quickly. This is where it loses that. But nevertheless, just do the damage to the monster, and you're going to be in relatively good hands. That's how you actually beat the frenzy. I lose to it a couple of times, so it is what it is, but no big deal. Now, going back to Gore Magala and other things it could do. Outside of the frenzy virus, like I spoke about before, it has a lot of things to actually keep you at bay. A lot of times it doesn't want you to breathe, but it does give you a lot of instances where you yourself can actually come out on top and do a bit more damage, especially if you counter him properly. A lot of his really big attacks leave him exposed for a long period of time, especially the fireballs. Almost after every fireball, he does nothing for about a good solid, I don't know, like 5 or so seconds. He just kind of sits there and roars or whatever a bit. He does no true attacks after that, so you want to capitalize on the times where he's actually doing nothing. So sometimes it actually pays to run things like evade extender, so that way you can let him do the big dumb fireball attack, evade out of the way, have him sit there for 10 minutes and just beat up on him like that. He does have a bit of health, so I recommend some of these strats, so that way you're not completely getting slapped. Outside of that, bring yourself some fire or some dragon, do as much damage to him as you can. He isn't impossible, but it's definitely one of those monsters I recommend you guys fight a number of times to get used to how the monsters after him won't necessarily fight, because he is technically an elder dragon. Elder dragons have a particularly different way of fighting. They don't fight the same as standard wyverns do, so it's a good way to kind of see what monsters who are after him can really do. Outside of that, he's just good. The gear is good. The fight's great. I'm glad rather to have him back. I mentioned before that Shaguru Magala is in the game. I mean, no spoilers there, I guess, because this monster being here basically says the other guy's gonna be here. Just note that he isn't until later, so you don't have to worry about him too much. Just remember that when you go to fight him, you may want to remember what you've learned by fighting this one and add it to that, because he's still technically the same thing. But nevertheless, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. I told myself I wouldn't do that, but here I am doing that. But with that said, everyone, thank you so much for coming and watching this video today. Let me say this. Thank you all for understanding that I had to take that break. I'm technically still on that break, but I actually got to go home incredibly early, no overtime. I only worked like 4 hours today, so I had time to come home and actually work on this video a little bit. What I am going to do, I am going to get you guys another video come tomorrow. As far as the whole title update thing goes or whatever, as soon as Lucent Narkuga comes out, I will have a video for Lucent Narkuga that day. Even if we aren't all the way up to date on the Lucent Narkuga, I decided to run 2 different profiles. So that way one is in line with my guides and the other is in line with whatever's coming out, so that way I can stay on top of that and not wait 1,000 years to actually get that footage for you all. But I just want to, again, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for actually understanding and contributing to help me fix my particular situation. My man, you know who you are. I think it's the same Chang that I know. I don't know if it's the same Chang that I know, but if it's the same Chang that I know, bro, you're a godlike. Thank you so much for helping me out. My man hit me with a $50 donation, and I mean that went straight to the cause. That helped so much. I think it's who I think it is. I think it's who I think it is, and if it is, dude, I'm glad to still know that you're around. Thank you so much. And it's, well, everyone else for giving me the kind words, letting me know that you all will still be there whenever I'm ready to actually come back and do these videos and stuff. I will probably get back to work and do some more overtime. I'm probably gonna do it for like another week or so, but I want to get this video out for you guys, and whenever Lucid Narg is coming out, whenever that may be, it will come out the same day it drops. I'm guaranteeing you guys that for sure. I'm having a bunch of other people help me out and whatnot for the times that I'm actually at work and I can't do it myself. I'm having people write notes for me. We're having people do research for me as well, so that way whenever it comes out, I don't have to fight the monster. I will, but I can give you guys everything you need, so that way you know what to do when you go to fight the Lucid Narg. But thank you so much. Like, I mean it, guys. Seriously, guys. I seriously mean it. Thank you so much for sticking with me and just being awesome. Like, you guys have no idea how good it felt to know that you guys are still sticking with me, even if I have to take a break, even after we just started like making things consistently again, because I hate starting and stopping, but life comes at you hard sometimes. So again, thank you all. We will get back on track with videos very soon. I promise you guys, really soon we'll get back on track. I'll have this video out for you today. I will have another video out for you before the end of this week. If that video is the Lucent video, so be it. If it's not, it's going to be another one, because I do spy with my little eye another day when I can get home early and do a little bit of work, maybe play some of the game. I haven't played a whole lot recently, but I do have footage for the following monster after the Gore Magala, so I'll probably work on that instead. But with everything being said, thank you all so much for coming and watching the video. For those of you that stick to the end for the video, you know who you are. You guys are amazing. For those who came and got the good stuff, you got the good stuff. Take care, everyone. I will see you all very soon. It's been your boy. May the desire sense of forever be in your favor.